We are live.
Live on Between the Sheets with Leah.
Yes, at the Boudoir Suite.
We are in the Boudoir Suite. We are
in the office.
Yes, in the office this time. Different scenario here. Scenario? Is that how you say that? Scenario. A different scene, a different scenario. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, good stuff. So we got myself, Chris, we got Leah here today, and we got Juanita.
Hey,
Juanita.
Hi. Hi.
She's still a little nervous. This is their second podcast ever.
Yeah, really, it kind of is. Yeah, second podcast, huh?
Third time ever on film.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
That camera's staring at me, right?
It's all right. They stare at
Get
everybody. That's their
comfortable
job.
with the camera.
Cool. So today we're going to talk a little business, right?
Yeah, we're going to kind of dive right into what people really want to hear about.
Okay.
And today's podcast is on fears, failures, and factors of success.
Fears, failures, and factors of success.
Mm-hmm.
That's packed.
Yeah,
Cool.
it is. It
Cool.
is packed.
Cool. All right. Well, let's just jump right into it then. Let's just start with maybe a little bit of your experience. You know, since you have a good amount of experience, you know, running business, have fears, failures, factors of success.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we all do, right? But go ahead and lead us up.
Well, you know, again, this is just another great podcast, and I'm really excited to share my knowledge, my wisdom that I've had in my own business, some of my own failures, definitely successes in all of this. But I met with a gal just recently, and she sent me a beautiful message afterwards, and she just said that she wanted to talk to me about overcoming fear.
Mm-hmm.
And she actually wanted me to pray for her to overcome fear. She says, I really want you to pray for me over myself and my daughter. She said, because I just want to be able to overcome fear and do what you're doing. And it was such an eye opener for me to hear that, number one, like, wow, this is what people are seeing on this side of things,
right.
Where sometimes internally it doesn't feel like that.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes I'm in fear of a decision that I'm going to make, but maybe it doesn't look like that on the outside.
Yeah, the outward appearance is not the inner dialogue.
Correct.
Yeah.
And so I thought that was just such a profound moment for me to really start to think about what fears did I have? What did I look at as failures in my business? What did I look at as things that were setbacks? And why didn't I stop?
Yeah, right.
Why didn't I stop? You know, because there's so many people that once they come to a moment of what they perceive as a failure, they'll stop doing what they're doing.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to really hit on some of these things because we have so many people out here in Colorado Springs, local businesses, people like Juanita who are venturing out on their own, making a huge decision to jump and get into business. And they're scared, you know, there's all these what ifs, right?
Right.
There's so many what ifs, and nothing is a guarantee in life. You don't have any type of guarantees. Is this business going to work? Am I going to have the clients?
Right.
Am I going to have income to support my family? Especially when you take a chance like dumping a 9-to-5 job where you're making good money, you're successful, you know that paycheck's coming in every single week, and you say, okay, that's it. I'm done. I'm going to do what I love.
Yes. And then to nothing. And
Yes.
No certainty, no anything. Just open.
Fear is a killer. Fear is a killer. So we'll just kind of start there.
Yeah.
Fear is a killer of all dreams.
Yes.
Because it will have us stagnant. It'll have us stop. It'll have us just stop dead in our tracks and tell our brain, no, that's too much.
Right.
I read a book by Mel Robbins, and it's called The 5-Second Rule. And she really kind of goes into how our brain perceives things, right? So our brain is set up so that when you're excited, your hands start to tremble. You start to get this feeling inside of your tummy, butterflies. You maybe start to sweat. Mouth gets dry. Mm-hmm. What happens when you're in fear? The same exact thing.
Yep.
Exactly the same exact thing. So she kind of has conceived a way to trick the brain when you're feeling that you're in fear, which I love.
That's pretty interesting.
Oh, it's so interesting. And she's really done some scientific research on this and really dove into the brain and how it works to be able to tell herself, no, this is a good thing. Yeah. This is exciting. So you do have, let's just say, a protection mode inside of your body that if you're walking down the street, it's dark, and somebody is approaching you, your brain is going to tell you there's something wrong here. Mm-hmm. and they call it the fight or flight, right? So either you're going to fight, you're going to flight. But prior to that, if you're not engaged with a person, you can perceive something as fear and it may be non-existent.
And I think that, at least in my experience, the good majority of fear that I have, especially like the unrealistic fear, after I go through the experience, after I have everything, like after I have the entirety of it, I can see full circle, it's not fearful anymore, like at all. And then I think I'm like,
anticipation, building up, anxiety.
Why was I afraid of that?
Yes.
Of all things.
And I'm throwing out just my own percentage here. This is not based on facts, but I would say that 90% of our fears are just based on assumptions of what could be, not actually what is.
Right. I'd agree with that.
I believe that a lot of fear is based around humility. It has a lot to do with who we are.
Pride,
egos. Because you want to look at something and see the greatness in it, and then going through the steps to get there are always hard, and you're afraid of failure.
What if?
And looking like, oh my gosh, she doesn't know what she's doing, or whatnot. So those are things that I look at, and I'm like, okay, I'm just afraid of something that doesn't even exist.
Correct.
You mentioned earlier.
Correct.
And I'm just setting all these things up in my own head about what other people may think of me, and that's not where I need to stay focused.
That's so good that you say that too, because that's
somebody
real.
told me about that same thing. They told me, and this is a long time ago, one of my mentors, he said, you know what, it's none of your business what other people think of you.
Right. Yep. Other people's opinion of
kind
you
of a weird thing to
is
understand
none of your business.
Yeah,
really,
business.
it doesn't matter, because at the end of the day.
And you know what I heard in just a recent book that said, forget your reputation. So when ego comes to play, it says, forget your reputation. Why? Because if you walk into a room with 30 people, 30 people are going to have a different idea of who you are and what your reputation is. So forget it.
Yes.
Right.
Well, one thing that I do know, statistically, there's a rule that if you walk into a room of complete strangers, one person out of 10 is not going to like you for no reason at all.
Interesting.
You walked into the room. They don't know you. They don't know who you are, what you represent, nothing about you, but there's a percentage that people will just not like you for no reason.
Wow.
Without even knowing you. So there's a true factual, percentage out there that exists about how people perceive you, whether or not they like you right from the gates.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's none of our business, right?
Correct.
It's none of my business if you don't like me.
Yeah.
It's, it really is. And so I love that. I absolutely love that. So I think going back to the assumption of fear, right? What is to be what we build up to be, talking about ego in fear, because that is so right. And it's so real that so many of us can get caught up of what is everybody going to think? What if I don't make this? People are going to talk. They're going to be waiting to see me fall. Well, guess what? Whether you do or whether you don't, people are still waiting to see you fall.
Yes,
always, no matter what.
So you have to try. I can't just say you can't, because it is a difficult thing to overcome ego. It is one of the biggest things to overcome ego. And ego has a lot to do with fear.
Yes.
It really does.
Absolutely.
It really does.
Yes.
And one thing I want to just point out, just from what you just said, one phrase stuck with me really, really good. It was the assumption of fear.
The assumption, yes, because we have no idea.
Yeah.
I can build up, and I'll take it back. You guys, just so you always know, I'm going to take it back biblically. Always, always, always. But you think about David, right? And kind of overcoming the giant, and the people in the town told him, "Oh my God, these giants, they're gonna do this to us. And so they're just talking him and probably building up this fear, right? So people's also opinion and people's talk can be so toxic to your walk, to your dream, to your vision. I had a girlfriend of mine that said, you need to, if you're going to dream about something, you're on a vision, as much as you want to be excited to share that, she said, just be quiet about it. Sometimes you just have to be quiet about it. And why? Because family members can tell us, hey, that's no kind of career. What are you going to do? How are you going to make money?
Yeah. One of the biggest things I have seen in the stories of other people that I've talked to and had a similar experience within my own is the idea of what your family thinks you should do versus what you feel you need to do or want to do or have a passion to do.
Yeah.
And if, what you want to do is not in line with that kind of, idea.
Their idea.
That form.
Their idea.
Yeah. If it's not, then, it's not going to be anything, no matter how positive it is or how awesome it is or how much it'll change the world, it won't be anything that will ever be positively reciprocated because somebody else's expectations are being set there. And I think a lot of people, get stuck in that zone of allowing their family and even close friends. I mean, people in their lives that don't positively embrace what they want to do or who they are or where they want to go and just, literally just shit on them.
Yeah.
And, you got to care a little bit, but at the same time, you got to not give a shit at all.
Yeah. So that's
the balance.
That's a hard balance for some people,
Yeah.
Because our parents, our family members, some of the closest people to us can really speak negatively to us, and it can just have such a huge impact on what we decide then.
Yeah.
And then it goes back to the ego, hearing those voices within our head. This is no kind of job.
Well,
You're never going to make it.
They are right.
Yeah. Maybe I can't do this. Yes.
Maybe I'll just sit here and think about it a little bit more and think myself out of it.
Yeah.
That's where it goes.
And so I would say that fear is a normalcy in starting a business. Absolutely.
Fear is a normalcy in starting anything.
Yes. So you cannot just go about, sure there's excitedness about it. You should have excitedness, especially if you're about to go after something that you love, but know that there's going to be a fear factor in it because it's there. It's the unknowns. You don't actually know what's going to happen. You don't actually know if something's going to succeed. There are no guarantees, but you gotta try anyways, because I would rather die trying something that I loved than sitting back and not ever giving it a chance.
Yeah.
Not having any satisfaction.
Right. Because then you'll have the what if I should have done this.
I don't want to die with a bunch of regrets.
Yeah.
That's the worst thing that could happen.
So for me in 2017, much like Juanita, I had a job that I was in for almost 10 years. And it was comfortable. I was the boss. I was a manager. I was managing $1 million dental firm pretty much. And I had a regular paycheck coming in. I knew I was getting paid. I managed people there. I pretty much could come and go as I pleased. And it was very comfortable for me. I was building the business on the side. And so I also want to just explain that when you are building a business, some people will choose to quit their job with no income and no clients. That I don't highly recommend. I really don't. I really believe that there's a lot of sacrifice that you're going to have to do in building up that business before you just jump, unless you have loans, which I just don't agree with loans a whole lot. But unless you are, have a loan and you have a business plan and you have investors that are going to help you. Okay. And there's some businesses that are structured like that. They are structured as so. But as far as a small base business, I don't think that that's
practical.
Yeah, I really don't. I just think that you need to have some clients. You need to have, be building up your reputation and your name before you make a full plunge.
In the idea of what we're talking about, if you want to minimize your fear,
have a plan, have a vision, have some clients. I think, we all have this idea of I want them to come. Well, who's they? You got to know who you're marketing to.
Who's they? How are you going to get their attention? What are you going to do to keep it?
Yes.
What are you going to do to make sure they're happy? There's
How
a
are you
million
gonna stand out
questions.
Everybody else.
There's
Exactly.
If you do a Google search right now, and then even if you don't do a Google search, you go on to Facebook and you ask, hey, I'm looking for a photographer. There's 50,000 different people that are going to come up. Well, what sets me apart from them?
Right.
What am I doing that's different?
And how can you quantify that?
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. So there's going to be that fear-based in whatever it is that you choose. And that's okay. That's okay. Overcoming that fear. Yeah. And so in 2017 was my final decision after building the business, mind you, of about 10 years, myself in the background. I decided that it was time to make the plunge. I was getting so many phone calls at work. I was getting bugged. And I was on his dime. And I didn't want to do that. And I knew that it was time. And yet at the same...
Still had that fear.
Yeah, gosh,
Probably
okay,
I'm not going to have this income
coming in. What if my clients stop calling?
Right,
What
right.
if
Even
they
though,
don't come
even though
anymore?
you were so busy, you couldn't.
What
not
I was
answer the work.
I was almost waiting for the ball to break. I was almost waiting for this glass jar to break of in my own head. What happens when this stops? What happens when it doesn't, when I can't do this anymore? I was setting myself up for these what ifs. And I knew though, deep down inside of me that I was better than that I could do it and that I would do it.
Yes.
And so I believed that what was in me was stronger than my thoughts of fear.
Yeah.
And I built that up. It wasn't something that 10 years ago I could have said, yep, I'm ready to jump. Well, heck no, I was building the business for 10 years with safety and security.
Right.
I wouldn't have jumped then because of the fact of fear, but it was something that I built myself up to know that I had clients to support. I had a good understanding at that point of business and how it was being run. And I had a vision, which was very, very important. You have to have vision.
That's the foundation. I think.
I say that so many times, and I probably sound like a dang record player because in order to get where you want to go, you have to know where you're going.
Absolutely.
You put your GPS on and you start driving. And if you don't put a destination,
Yeah.
you're going to be just driving around.
Yep. Wasting time, wasting money, wasting effort.
Absolutely.
It also ties into, you know, the some of the reasons, like on the back end of that, is that you have to set that intention in order to have that segment be something that energy can focus on, I think.
Yeah.
You know, and if you go through, there's this old book I read. It's like the Power Law of Attraction in the Thought World, it's like by William J. Atkinson or something. And you know, in that book, he talks about breaking down how the law of attraction works. With, you know, you can have you know, you have the thought, whether you have your conscious thought or unconscious thought, it's enough to manifest and work in your life. But when you are conscious of that and you then focus that energy, that's when it really starts. Then to break down further, you set segments where you set intentions of segments of your day, go through those.
Yeah.
And then you just repeat. Mix that in with affirmation and boom.
Yes.
Yeah. And
Your life's changed.
I'm glad that you said that because I think when we think of the power of thought, I could sit down on my couch all day and think, I want to run a business. I want to run a business. I want to run a business and sit there on my couch all day. But it's thought mixed with action.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is going to push you and drive you to that next step. But because you're thinking about it, it should be driving this excitedness in you that you're like, okay, now I'm going to just start a Facebook group. Now I'm just going to go and create a website. Now I'm just going to start looking at colors on Pinterest for my brand. It can be little teeny tiny steps as small as that, that puts more excitement in you and drives you to the next step. And you see that it just starts happening very naturally.
And one thing I want to kind of talk on is, I think sometimes people have the fear. I know financial is a huge fear for a lot of people, right? The financial piece of, oh, it's expensive to start a business. It's expensive to do this. It's expensive to do that. A lot of that stuff, especially what you just mentioned, most of it's free.
Yeah. To YouTube, you can find out anything that you want to on YouTube.
Yeah.
You can Google search, how do I do this? And it's going to show you a video and then there's going to be 10 other ways to do it. You can get free education online.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right now.
And, you know, time is the most valuable of all. Well, you know, it's a whole other topic for a whole other day. But when you have that desire and you have that sense that you want to do something, go and explore it and go follow those paths.
Find a mentor.
See where they
Find
land.
a mentor.
Yeah.
That is huge. If you can find somebody who is doing something in the field that you love and they say, yes, I'll take you on, that's invaluable. You
Totally.
cannot get better education than being live with them, seeing how the business is run, seeing what they do, seeing how business works. Because if there was one thing that I would have done differently in my business was I would have learned business before I learned photography.
Yeah.
It took me years and years to figure out taxes and accounting and names and what kind of corporation am I going to be and liability and insurance and what do I need to protect myself, contracts, having them, you know, the correct things in place. How do I figure out how I get paid?
Right.
Instead of just looking at a website and saying, well, Sally down the street is getting paid $300. So that sounds good to me. I'm going to choose that too, when I have no idea how much it cost me just to turn on my lights.
Right. And that is even ever evolving.
Yes. I mean, it always is, because you start to become more professional, you start to get more equipment. All of this stuff costs money, it all does. And you have to be able to depreciate those costs slowly but surely, add them in. So that in itself was something that I self-taught, I just had to learn myself. Okay. And we could have looked at certain things that I did as failures. And that didn't work. And oh gosh, okay, that's it. I'm done. Or okay, that didn't work. How do I switch this up to make it work?
Yeah. Now you're armed with how it doesn't work. So
yes, and that goes
into transferring things to the success side.
Well, before we even just go there, I just want to kind of summarize the whole fear thing, because it will keep so many people stagnant. Yes. It really, really will. It will keep so many people stagnant. Well, they just will decide not to do what they want to do. They'll have a beautiful, wonderful idea, and the fear of the what ifs will keep them stagnant and not moving. And it just takes a little bit of movement and a little bit of action towards your vision and towards your dream to be able to pursue what it is that you want to do. And I believe that there are no failures. So we're going to talk about failures here in a minute, but I believe that there are no failures. There are lessons.
Leah, I have a question.
Sure.
Kind of going back to what you said earlier, how have you pushed past your fears, and not necessarily in the past how you got here, but your daily fears, the things that you're worried about today?
Sure. How
do you pass those over and overcome them in your daily life? What does that look like for you?
Gosh, I still think of things in I guess my fears in my own head now are a little different than what they were. I still think, what happens when this ball stops rolling? Yeah. I still have those ideas of what happens if I can't get enough clients this month? And not only that, I think I have fears of bringing people on and helping them out and being able to support them and know that I have other people's lifeline on my shoulders. That's scary in itself, to know that I could possibly be hindering somebody else's walk. So those are some of my fears, I believe, going, forth. But I think I take it back down to just knowing at the end of the day that I'm made for this, that I'm made for this purpose, that I'm made for something greater. And that if I provide this need that I feel that these women have, that they're going to continue to come, and that they're going to see something different in me than maybe what they did see from Sally from down the street. Absolutely. That I'm providing a bigger and more quality. It's more than photos. Yes.
Oh, it's so much more. So much more.
So much more. There's just such an experience. I say that often, it's the experience, because my motto is the pictures are the icing on the cake, because yes, you're going to get, but I can tell you right now, yes, you're going to get beautiful pictures, but am I the best damn photographer out there? No. I can tell you that there's photographers that I look at and I'm like, holy crap, there's so
always going to be somebody who's bigger and better and badder and has it more together and is more.
But they can't be me.
Exactly.
But they can't be me, and they can't provide what I'm going to provide to clients. And so I think confidence is a huge factor in overcoming fear. It's having confidence and knowing that whatever it is that you choose to do in your business, that you have a confidence that succumbs fear, that just will surpass that fear. That's the biggest giveaway I could probably give on overcoming fear, is having confidence, a bigger kind of confidence than what you have fear.
Sure.
So
Outweighing it.
Yes, definitely. And then I would say some of my other fears are, just I'm scared of the stairs in my studio. What if somebody slips and falls? But I have my limitations of liabilities. I have my contracts in place. And so then I have to kind of sit back as well and say, okay, this is a business. It can happen, but I'm protected. And so making sure that those protections are in line. So you're still covered. You're dotting your I's, you're crossing your T's, you're making sure that all of the back end stuff. And that's why I have a team of people that, I am also hoping that is supporting me in those areas, as having good mentors, having good people around you, people that are encouraging you, people that want to work, that are hungry. I think that's all really important. And encouragement in itself. So let's just say that you're a one-man band and you don't have any other employees. I think encouragement is huge. Get around people who can tell you that you can, not that you can't.
Yes.
Get around people that can tell you that you can.
One big thing for me is I need always somebody that is not going to always throw
Curveball.
Curveball or a hurdle in my path that I already has 100 hurdles and curveballs, and it's built that way.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with that. But when you choose to bring people into your circle and they're not positive and pushing you to be better every day, those things become the new hindrance, which generates just more fear going forward. So those things are definitely important.
Yeah.
To have encouragement around
your circle is so important.
Yes.
The circle is so important. Who you have around. And there's a great YouTube that I believe Steve Harvey did on the people that are on your boat and how they're rowing, if they're either rowing with you or they are rowing against you.
Sure.
And it is very, well, first and foremost, I love Steve Harvey. He's such a great speaker and encourager. And so if right now, just to kind of take it back to encouragement, you don't have people that are supporting your dream, or you don't have enough people around you that are encouraging you, get on YouTube and put motivation, morning motivation. Steve Harvey is a great one. Denzel Washington is a great one. Jim Carrey is amazing. And listen to these people and just listen to them every single day until you start to build up a confidence in you that you too can do anything that anybody else is doing.
Yes.
That law of attraction, the power of God, it all works the same. We just need to continue to surround ourselves with positive affirmations, positive things, positive words, positive motivation, books, everything. And they asked me that before, was just what helps me. It's being around positive people. It's being around and listening to, hearing positive affirmation, positive message.
Yes.
And so that that one, if you look it up, it's Steve Harvey. And it's like, I think probably if you just put Steve Harvey and rowing your boat or boat, it will come up. And it is so powerful in the sense that you really start to realize along the way, along the journey of success, you will lose a lot of people.
Yes.
Because not everybody out there truly wants to see you succeed. They will smile in your face and they will pretend that they want to see you succeed, but they don't. Sure. And a friend of mine, we were talking about that and just how powerful that statement was, because I think we've all been there. We've all been guilty of being envious, and we're lying if we're saying that we haven't. We are. Let's just be real. Exactly. We're lying if we say, "Oh, I've never been jealous. Oh, I just 100% all the time wish everybody the best." Maybe that's something that you've come to now and you've learned, and you have gratitude and appreciation.
That's tough.
But at some point
That's
or
tough.
another in your life, you had enviness, or you had jealousy, or you had something, and so there was a saying that said, "I want you to do good, but not better than me." You know what I mean? Yeah. And you really sit on that. And I told her, I says, man, I had to think about that phrase for a while, because I love to see people succeed. But it was there at some point, some time where I was like, I want them to do good, but not better than me. And if I'm being 100% honest, absolutely. I had thought in that. I've thought that in my mind at some point or another. That's just me being real. 100%. That's just me being real. But as I come to my own success and my own learning, you also realize in that you are putting out what you're going to receive.
Sure.
And if you have a state of bitterness and you have a state of jealousy or envy, or I learned that you have to just stop wasting time on that kind of stuff, because it's not serving you at all. Yeah. When you truly, truly, genuinely wish somebody the best, then it starts to, what you wish for others really, truly does start to come into your life.
Absolutely.
And so I think that is a fruit in itself that you begin to see working or not working in people's lives.
Yes.
So definitely look that up. Your circle is very, very important. Mm-hmm. Who you have rowing on the boat, some could be rowing against you and you might not even know it.
Right. And I think that's interesting, just the amount of people that you do lose,
Yeah.
You know,
It will become very small. My circle is very small.
yeah.
And I'm not, there's no
me too.
shame in that. There's no shame in me saying that. I am so happy with the circle that I have.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that I don't want to meet other individuals who are successful. I mean, of course I do. I pray for that often, that I want to have strong individual women, which I can tell you straight up, years ago intimidated me. If I couldn't teach you something, then I didn't want to be your friend.
Mhm.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know, saying some of that stuff makes it real for me sometimes. And I'm like, wow, you know, but if I couldn't mold you or teach you, or if I couldn't be that leader in your life, then I really didn't have any reason for you to be in my life.
Sure.
Yeah.
That was, like mind.
Yeah, but if you look at that now, if you look at how that correlates now to your life, and that's just something that you've had instilled in you, the teaching factor, being the light source, being positive influence to women that need somebody to take them under their wing and really help them become confident, help them become successful. Those things have always been in there. You just didn't know how to use it or
but at the same time, I think I knew that those things were there, but I was almost unteachable.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's almost that kind of weird paradox of you got to give it away in order to receive it tenfold. You know?
Yeah. And what happened was basically when God opened my eyes and was like, listen here, little girl, you are not the boss. Like, you have a little boss thing in front of your desk, but you are not the boss lady that you think you are. And you need other individuals because you find yourself by yourself.
Yeah.
You find yourself when you're in these places of needing encouragement and you look around, you're like, well, wait a minute. I'm encouraging everybody. Who's encouraging me?
Right.
That's a big one.
Oh, you know what I mean? And you feel so drained and you feel so tired and you feel like I am outpouring so much of me. And by the time I got to empty, I looked around and nobody was around.
Mm-hmm.
And that was eye-opening for me to realize that. And I want to make it very clear, the people and the individual that I had in my life, I love them. I love them. But they were learning and they needed something and they needed from me, which was all good. But when it was time to reciprocate that back, they couldn't give me any food. They were still trying to give me the milk that they were sucking on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I needed food. I needed I needed, hey, like, you know, somebody who's been there, done that, which means that I needed to have somebody that was more successful than me.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's so important.
And that's where I come from right now. I came from a world of success into a new world of success.
Mm-hmm.
And I am thriving in this environment because like you said earlier, the mentorship pieces, there is no monetary value tied to that. Just that time alone that I get to spend here and interact over here, just be around the environment, seeing things potentially going in the right direction, not going backwards, going forward. And that's where I knew my circle was needing to change. I needed to put my marker back where it belonged, up at the top, and not stay stuck down here with people that just are not feeding me and building me. And that's where I had to break free out of that piece. So I know that that's such an important part of growth. Yeah. Overcoming fear.
Because so it's
just don't put anything on her desk.
Yeah, because then it would be fun.
I was like, do not put anything on her desk. Make sure it's free. No, you know, I love that you said that because your journey is a crazy journey.
It is.
But it is a journey of triumph from what I see.
Yes.
So people can look at it as failure, but I look at it as you are coming to the woman you are becoming, fully stepping into it. And I love that unfold. I love seeing that like just unfold, and it's ever changing. It's always ever changing. And so somebody, and one of these days we'll get a little bit more into Juanita's story, and just kind of talk about where she's come from and the things that she's had to overcome and fight through in her own life. But just a little bit of feedback was that sometimes it's people like your husbands and your wives and your spouses, boyfriends, girlfriends, that can have a detrimental stop to your success, to who you're becoming. And that's sad, but it's true.
Absolutely.
And at some point, I'm not sitting here saying, okay, go divorce your husband and your wife.
Well, I'll say at some point you need to make the decision on if it is worth you losing your dreams to stay in a relationship that does not satisfy you.
Let me just say, you will end up hating your life and where you end up when your eyes open, and they do, your vision becomes so clear, and how you fail meeting those visions that you had set in your own self, you find yourself in a really, really dreadful place of reality.
Yes.
And me at 40, going backwards and saying, oh man, look at all of these times that I had to start over and rethink my whole life.
Yeah.
Many times has brought me to a place of I wouldn't take it back.
Yeah, because it was life experiences. Yeah. You absolutely. I love that you say that, because again, and that's all a point of view. That's all a point of view, because you have the victim mentality.
Yes.
And then you have the people that say,
I live the victim already.
That mentality is killer.
Oh gosh, it is 100%. So you have that victim mentality of this is what happened to me and woe is me. And this, my past defines who I am. Or you have the people that say, you know what? That was, now this is what is.
Yes.
And this is what helped me to become the woman that I am today. And I wouldn't change it, because you and I have had some heartache and we've had some tough things inside of our lives that I too, there's things that I wouldn't take back, even though it hurt, even though it brought me to my knees at some point in my life, that I would not take back, because it made me who I am today. And so I love that. I love that.
Yes.
So going into overcoming fear, let's talk about failures, because I'm just going to say it again. I do not believe that there are true failures. I just don't. I believe that everything, and that's my mentality, that everything that you learn, everything that you go through your life is a learning, building block.
Yes.
Just because it didn't work, maybe it just didn't work that way.
I think a lot of the failure, you failed piece, you failed, is either a mix of that. Well, it's a mix of that internal dialogue coupled with what those people that are close in your lives tell you about what they think.
People in your family, if you heard that a lot growing up.
Yeah, if anybody tells you you're just a straight
jackass,
screw up, straight fuck up,
For real.
they're probably not people you want to listen to.
No.
I mean, because anybody who's got any sense about them, or anybody who has any level of understanding or like emotional intelligence or anything like that, they're not going to talk to you like that. They're not going to bring you down or put you down, because they don't need to do that in order for them to feel okay. So check the thoughts and check the people you're around.
Yeah.
If that's what you're getting, think about if that's really.
Well, it's exactly what you just said. Check the thoughts or check the people. So you have two choices there. If your thoughts are producing things that are saying you failed, you suck, then it is internal. And most of what we experience is internal.
Yeah.
That's the ego. That is ourselves talking. Or if other people are around you, then check your circle and start to kick those people off your boat.
Yes.
Simple as that, and then you can start to push through and overcome even those things. It's as simple as that. So I can look back at myself, and my biggest, I think, lesson was trying to jump into another business midway in my business and putting 100% full force effort into it, to the point where it was becoming successful very quick, but I didn't know all the rules and the regulations and the city's rules and regulations. And I had to start canceling weddings that were planned out.
You already got paid for.
Already paid for, money already in the bank. And basically, I shouldn't even say it was in the bank, because it went right into building the venue up to make it bigger and grander and what it needed to be, so that I can continue to scale.
Yeah.
And coming to the point where they red tagged me. Sorry, shut down, no more. And having to refund, call clients. That it's like a dog with its, it really is with its tail. Yeah, I had to come to them and then to admit that this was my fault. I didn't know all the rules and regulations. And I'll tell you, at first, I blamed the city. It's them. They don't want this. They don't, and really they have rules and regulations that they're following. And I wanted to take it very personally. I took it very personally. They're after me.
Well, I think we all like to do that just so we can not have to feel that accountability sometimes, because it's hard.
Yes. And so I was defeated. I was defeated for probably a good year after that. And I had let my photography business, I don't want to say go to the wayside, but I just wasn't putting anything into it. I was very minimally putting into my photography business.
Sure.
And I was very defeated. So I just want to talk about that for just a second. I have gone through things in my life that somebody else could very much easily look at as a failure.
Oh, totally.
I have gone through things that have made me cry, that have made me ball up, that have made me stop in my tracks for the moment, for the moment.
Yeah.
And maybe it was a long moment.
But a moment nonetheless. Not
That's right. But what's the difference is that
didn't cripple you for the rest of your life.
it was not going to.
Yeah.
And maybe I didn't see it right there in that moment, because in those moments, they feel so real. Your emotion will take over and it feels real.
Yes.
Like, this is it. Like, oh my gosh, my dreams are over.
Yes.
I'm never, and yet it was actually my cousin's now husband who said, stop looking at it as it's done. Look at everything that you learned during that whole year.
Right.
And it opened up my eyes. So shout out to Josiah. It really opened my eyes to realize that I learned so much about the city. I learned about rules and zoning and regulations. And I learned that they couldn't do certain things and that I couldn't do certain things, and that I fought and I had a strength in me that I didn't realize that I had to go up in front of people that actually really always intimidated me, because I was a mess up back in my teenage years and had to go in front of the courts and the judges, and that stuff kind of hinders you. You have this feeling of like, oh God, I'm in trouble. I'm in trouble. I'm in trouble.
I have that experience.
You know, and so you just.
Well, that's
She's
good.
Miss
Juanita.
Innocent. She never got caught.
You got plenty of other fears you can mess with.
I must have been the dumbass that got caught,
Yeah.
but she never got caught. So
Let me
no.
tell you, we never dug into my story. I just have to say that God was
Yes.
definitely protecting my life and my path.
Yeah.
Because
And you know, even though I did get caught, it was still my lesson.
Absolutely.
I was still being
A lesson
very, very,
or a
very
test?
protected. Well, both. I don't know, you know.
That's how I think I will move forward with looking at failures and hurdles is as a lesson or a
Yes.
test, rather than anything that's going to stop me in my tracks.
Yeah.
Or
What is this for? If you can
Yes.
look at something that feels like a failure, instead of saying I failed,
Yes.
instead say, what can I learn from this? And it sounds so cheesy. It sounds so
But
cheesy,
it's
but it
true.
is.
I mean, like, you know, you just,
What can I take from this?
Yes. What was I supposed to learn from this?
What was my part?
Yes.
well, you know, she just said, that's how I'm going to look at it now. That's how you look at it.
Yeah.
There's no other way. That's how you look at it correctly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So,
So now is a big word, because let me tell you what my previous state of mind was. It was very, very stuck. I was comfortable, for one, and that when you're comfortable, too comfortable, you start to become just the repetition.
you get lazy.
You get lazy,
What it is.
and repetition just becomes your everyday life. And over time, over years, that just stops feeding you. And
Yeah.
repetition is.
And you're like, whoa, was that an hour? Oh, wait, that was a year.
Yeah, it feels like yesterday, but it just all starts to blend together. There's no distinct moments in life that set you apart in any way, and that's this jump off and being the business owner is.
So let's slow it down really quick before we start going into the more of the success parts,
Yeah,
because I want to just talk to Juanita here, who you're 40 years old. I'm
Yes.
40 years old,
Yes.
so it's okay to say that out loud.
I'm 36.
Whatever, Chris. He's a baby. That's the baby.
I have gray hair.
Yeah, I have gray
You guys
hair.
don't?
Yeah, I do have gray hair. We cover it.
Yeah.
At 40, you decided to go back to school
Yes.
with a whole bunch of youngsters. And you've already told me, and you've explained to me even in the last segment that we did, that you're in there and you're walking in there. There's all these babies. There's all these babies who are like, woo, they're excited. Or some of them are just, like, hey, mommy paid for this, so I'm just doing it, or whatever
lit.
the case may be. Yeah, it's lit, like whatever. But
Yeah.
and you're 40 years old, like you're a mother of 3.
Yes.
Good job.
Yes.
That I don't know if you hated it.
I didn't. I loved my job. But
Okay.
It started getting too comfortable. It stopped.
And knew that there was going to be this rolling effect, right? That if you stayed in it, you were staying in it. Like you were committed. And that's too,
Yes.
is what happens to so many people. I have shout out to T-Mobile, because I guess that's such a great company to work for, because once they got you, like they really can, they kind of, you know, where people want to jump and they're like, but I have really good benefits and I have a 401k and I have stock and they pay me really good. And so it's a great company. It's really a great company, but it may not be what you're wanting to do, but they make it so comfortable.
Yes.
Ask Dana about that.
Dana.
Yeah, the comfortable piece of it is where I became dissatisfied in my everyday life. Driving to work, already knew what it was going to be, already knew what my walk was going to be, where I was going to park. I mean, all the way down to my.
This was life. This was life.
This was life.
It's that commercial, you know, that commercial way back in the day of the Dunkin' Donut commercial where he's like, time to make the donuts. Every morning he gets up and it's time to make the donuts. It's all the same. It's just the same routine.
My mind goes to, it's like that 9 Inch Nails song. Every day is exactly the same.
Yeah. All right.
See, and there's lots of different ways to look
36, 40.
That's why I don't get your Dunkin' Donuts commercial.
That's why he doesn't bring us any Dunkin' Donuts.
Hey, I do. When I do, you guys don't even eat them.
Hey, they might be there for a day.
So I eat them all.
Well, I'll eat them.
I ain't got no shame.
Shout out to Dunkin' Donuts up the street on the Mesa. They got good donuts.
Yeah, they're fresh. Fresh at noon. That's it.
Anyway, so at 40, you knew what life was like.
Yes.
You just knew you were going through this routine.
Yes.
So what in you, at what point, was there a light bulb that went off? Or did it gradually happen?
Well, I think that once I started recognizing that I was unhappy, it was kind of just every day was a new reason to be unhappy. So then I found myself in a whole other bucket of shit.
Because our thoughts don't discriminate. And so whether it's good or whether it's bad.
Just say that word.
That's the best word.
Right. That's good. That's
He
cool.
loves
That's
it.
cool.
He's like, yes.
It was probably a really old lady way. But anyway, I started feeling like every part of my job just started getting dissatisfying.
And you were focused on that. You were focused on it. So more became.
It started growing. Oh, I don't like this. Oh, yeah, I don't like that. So that's another reason for me to leave. But I'm grateful that I was able to be in the environment as long as I was and learn so many multifunctional
Pieces.
skills that will go across the board in any dynamic. So I'm grateful for the whole negative.
What were some of your thoughts? When you decided to I mean, do you remember the day? Do you remember, was there?
Oh yeah, did you see that? You see that look when you asked her that?
January 10th was my last day, and I made the decision to end my career that day. And
January 10th of
January
2019, 2020?
2020.
Wow.
Yeah.
So right before the pandemic was hitting, on top of that.
Like, that was for a reason, because let me tell you, working in the medical field during a national, worldwide, global pandemic, whatever, would have taken me to a whole new.
Chris hasn't had COVID yet, just mind you. So.
And I'm not getting a shot either.
Everybody has their own take on it. What I do know is I'm grateful I was not part of the medical world.
Oh my gosh, yes. Isn't that crazy?
I can't imagine where I would be and how tied up I would be into that whole realm of protecting the staff, protecting myself, protecting my family.
You would be one of the team leaders of that, I would see.
Yeah.
If you were all about it.
This is where I get my, a multi-functional skill. I've always treated everybody like they have germs.
Working in the field. Yep. Working in the field.
The pandemic was really nothing new. But
So let's go back really quick to that January.
10th date.
Yeah. So what was in your mind? Okay, I'm quitting. This is it. I'm done.
It had been a
Thought.
and I just was wondering.
But you weren't. When I say you weren't prepared, you were going back to school. There was no clients. There are no clients. Well, they're coming now. But you were like, this is what I'm gonna do.
Yes, I was set on being my own business owner, and pandemic. The date really was just a date. There was no thought to go back to school or what my next plan was.
Oh, so there wasn't even a plan at this point.
So what was the catalyst to you just saying, peace, I'm out?
Well, anytime you have, a higher being that you report down to, and, just looking at myself morally and who I am and what I represent, when I started feeling like every day was hard for me to deliver information as a third party or a middle party. It made it very hard for me to deliver information that felt like it wasn't morally who I was, and not giving anybody any empathy. You know, it's just you're a number, but you
If you
build
pay me.
relationships.
If you pay me. That's if you pay me.
Basically,
we're
it's
gonna
like
pay
you
'cause
run
we're
this
gonna get you
department.
down.
Yes, run the department the way I'm telling you to.
So no plan, no vision,
plan,
and
no
then what happened?
One day I just said, you know what, if I'm gonna do it, and I'm big on, I'm doing it. Why not today?
Why not
tomorrow?
today?
Why not Friday?
Why not today? I like that.
She was like, you know
Why
what? This
not
person,
today?
when I was walking in that I hate, didn't hold the door open for me. I'm done.
And so if you remember on January 10th who you were.
Yeah. I came back to my office and I was like, yep, on the computer.
Somebody put something on my desk. Oh my God.
Yeah. But there was definitely fear in that.
Oh,
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
And at any point after that, at any point after making that decision, did you feel like, oh crap, I messed up? Oh, I love
Not
that.
one time. That's why I feel like
That's good.
I know that
Good.
this is where I'm supposed to be. I have not regretted leaving. I have told.
Ditto.
I have been in a position where I switched hospitals, and in that time frame, felt like, oh my God, I made the worst decision. But this time around, everything, I'm so grateful. I'm so happy to be released from that world.
Yes.
And being able to work for myself, have my own representation of myself, what I represent, who I am. So all
good,
of these
man.
things
That's good.
are.
And I think that in itself is not, it's not, that's a factor. It's a
There's
factor.
nothing
Totally.
hindering me right now.
In your business.
I feel free.
Yes.
Sure, there's lots of things that are preventing me from doing better things that I want to do, but that's
Sacrifice.
Just time. That's just
So
time.
that's what we want to continue to dive into. I think that we got a lot of food
yeah.
today for sure. But we want to continue to talk about this because I think it's very important for people that are listening that, hey, first and foremost, these are all normal things. Second based is that you need to know that there is a light at the end of the tunnel for sure. If you can push through, there are going to be there's going to be much sacrifice that's required. And you have to know part of that about business. It does not come easy. And I want to talk about, that I think on the next segment is, so we're still going to continue to talk on those factors.
Yeah.
One of them being sacrifice is huge. You will spend time away from your family. You will not have outings with your kids as many times as you want to. You will take money out of your own pocket for probably the good first year or two to build your company up.
That being like on the light end of it,
And I'm
depending
saying
on how
that
much
because
you want
it's
and how
true.
hungry you are, like you'll sell shit you own to get
People
what you need. You'll do
will-
whatever. I mean,
Absolutely.
And people will look at you on this side of success and be like, wow, I want to do that. You need to be sure that you want to do this.
Yeah.
You need to be sure that you want to do this because you will work more for yourself than you ever have for anybody else in your whole life. You will spend hours upon hours upon hours on your own business. And so it may look easy on the outside and it may look like something that you desire to do, but you need to have the grit inside, the hustle inside. You got to have that fire inside of you because it is not easy. And I want to make that known. I'm not trying to discourage anybody, but let's be real.
yeah, no, for real.
Absolutely.
And if you don't have any sort of like, what's what I'm looking for? Any sort of resilience to that kind of stuff, then it's going to be a hard ride.
Consistency and discipline.
Yeah.
Just 100%. Consistency and discipline.
So like we said before, don't quit your job yet.
Yeah. Don't quit your job yet. So anyhow, so we'll talk about that next week a little bit more.
Cool. Yeah, we
Yeah.
will. Yeah, we already hit the time. So let's wrap this up.
Flew by.
Yeah. Awesome.
Good
stuff.
good.
Juanita, Leah.
Yeah.
Till next time.
All right.
Till next
All right,
time.
guys.